Living for a living, baby. How you doing?
This is kind of an exciting one. No, I did not get a haircut. I am rocking cornrows right now, which I have to admit I fucking love. I've wore cornrows one other time in my life in like 7th grade. Yeah, 7th or 8th grade for a basketball game. And I got them done by like one of the only black guys that went to our middle school's mom, Ladarius. All my Issaquah friends will know who Ladarius is. And all the moms in the stands, when I got my cornrows, thought that I cut my hair. And we're like talking to my mom like, oh, Joey cut his hair. That's nice, blah, blah, blah. My mom's like, well, no, not exactly. And the white suburbia mothers of Issaquah, Washington weren't exactly sure how to react to a middle school white boy with braids. Because this was a little bit before. I mean, I don't know how to explain it right now, but I feel like back then hoes didn't want me. Now I'm hot, hoes all on me. No, not Mike Jones. But back then, there was like much more of a divide in like white and black culture, maybe. I don't know. I'm just spitballing off the top of my head. And I feel over the last 20 years or so, it's like become much more connected in a way where like white guys and black guys all kind of dress similarly, and at least in like pop culture and the movies and stuff like that, you know, the movies used to always show, for the most part, it felt like black dudes as like either in the hood or, you know, gangsters. Like there was just a specific role for most black characters, it seemed like. And I don't know if that's changed exactly. I mean, shit, there's black Spider-Man now. And so anyway, the whole point I'm just trying to say is like when I had it the first time, it was kind of less, I don't know, not acceptable, but less accepted, or, you know, so moms didn't know what to fucking think, basically. And a little bit about me, you know, I grew up in Issaquah, Washington, which is a pretty white area. Although we got some Mexicans downtown, we got Asians, Indians, just not a ton of black people went to my schools growing up. And for whatever reason, I don't know why, I've always felt connected, or I don't know. I have no idea what the reasoning behind any of this is, but I've just always got along with black people really well growing up. And I told my mom when I was like 5 years old, we were in the car driving out of our neighborhood, and I told her, Mom, I wished I was black. I think she almost drove off the road. I mean, not because she thought that was bad, just not really what you expect your little suburbia white 5-year-old to tell you randomly. And she said, well, why is that? And I guess I was a big MTV guy growing up. And so I grew up, you know, Mo Money, Mo Problems was a music video that I can remember by heart because I just grew up with it. And I said, well, you know, they look cool in clothes. They got good style. They can all dance good. And 5-year-old Joey, that's what it was all about. And so, I don't know where that story really originated. Today is my birthday. This is a birthday podcast, doing this one first time ever. 31 years old. It's pretty crazy, to be honest. I'm not a big birthday guy myself. And I don't know, I never really even imagined getting to 31. This is going to get dark, and I don't really mean it to be. This is just the truth. And I still kind of believe it to be the truth. And I think that's part of the reason why I live the way that I'm living in terms of doing what the fuck I want, living for a living, as you may call it. It's kind of weird. People are starting to use that phrase more and more towards me, saying, hey man, I'm happy to see you're living for a living, blah, blah, blah. And that's cool. It's really cool. The fact that it's kind of taking its own little mantra in itself and creating a meaning for other people. But a big reason I think I am doing this is because for all my life, and still even now, I've kind of always thought I was going to die young, and I don't know exactly what age that is, but that's just how I've always seen it or thought about it. And so I never thought about being 80 years old and putting in all this time working at some fucking job that I don't want to work at because I'm wasting the little time I got here. And so getting to 31 is pretty crazy because, as I said, I don't know when young technically is. Maybe by the time technology takes over and they give us 17,000 more booster shots and that turns us into robots, that dying young will be 150. Who knows? But 31, I don't feel old. I know there's some like younger listeners I got out there. Man, you got time, dude, coming from the older guy. Because, man, I remember when I was 18, 19, 20, even 22, 23, hearing somebody that was 31, I was like, oh, this fucking old ass. There's not too much difference right now, but you got time. You know, this podcast right now I've been doing for going on 2 years, doing some of this travel stuff, which I'll get into a little bit more this episode. Had a fucking awesome weekend in the van, first camping weekend in the van. Gonna have a vlog that comes out of it, getting back with the camera, feeling artistic, I guess is just the word. But you got time, 2 years into all these things, and I feel now I'm still just getting started and feel there's such a long way to go. Came a long way and grown already, but it's still just such a short time. And I think we get into this idea that overnight success, and if it doesn't happen within X amount of time or X amount of episodes or this amount of that it's not worth it, or we haven't done it, or we're never gonna do it. And obviously there's some people, music, art, video, whatever the medium may be, that kind of get that beginner's luck or maybe not luck, but just they're not part of the majority that have to just put in time and time and time and time. And so just the thing as I'm getting older is like, it's, again, I know I repeat myself, but whatever you truly believe is going to happen, and you truly believe in your heart, give it some time, put some work into it, put some effort in, and it'll get there eventually. Look at the van, baby. Which now that I'm starting to do some research on van build and making the inside nice, but I don't want to make it too nice, because I know right now that the van life is very romanticized in social media. That's a part of the reason I've wanted to do it myself. Although back in the States, I'd driven from New York to LA a couple times, or similar distances, just living out of my car, sleeping in my car. So I've done it the grimy ass way before, the cheap way. And so I know that I just enjoy doing that part of thing, traveling, being on the road, kind of ultimate freedom. But a lot of people in this van world right now, and I'm not hating on anybody, it's all just an observation. Just these vans, and I'm watching the van builds, they're fucking amazing. Like the craftsmanship and everything is like perfectly done, and it costs some money. And in a way, I'm looking at it, I'm like, fuck, that's pretty unrealistic for me. I don't know if I'm going to be able to make a cabinet like that, or I'm going to be able to make the bed frame with all the little storage things and the hinges and this and that and yada yada. And that's okay. And so this weekend we went camping and just had a mattress in the back, a couple of battery powered LED lights for the nighttime, and cooked on a campfire, and it was fucking awesome. And so I realized to myself, damn, I want to build this thing out. But at the same time, I don't want to make it some super fancy thing that's unrelatable, because a big reason that I hope translates for other people from seeing me do this kind of stuff. I've been getting a lot now with the van, like, oh, I'm super envious and that's so cool and you're living the life, blah, blah, blah. I want to just show that, dude, you can do it too. Like, I've had to put in some work. There's been some shitty days, some dark nights, some difficult times. But it's not like I have some ultimate luck. Yeah, I've been able to use my skills for football in order to get to this point right here. But we all have some kind of little skill or ability that we can use and think creatively to get certain places. It's just being open to it and believing in it. And so that's the thing with the van build, as I think longer and longer about it, is I want to make it nice, don't get me wrong, but I also want it to kind of be grimy, kind of be like functional, but not fancy. Because then someone will say, oh, well, I can't do that. I mean, I bought the van for $2,200, dude. Like, that was a season of saving out here. And that's the best money I've ever spent. Got lucky, got a great deal on it. Had to go find, it just, all the cards fell into place. But it was being open, believing. And so, I think sometimes we see these vans or people's lives, no matter what it may be, and think, oh, I need $60,000, and how will I ever get the $60,000? And it's like, no, you can have just as good a time for a smaller amount of time or a smaller amount of money. And that's what I want to just kind of get out there, get that message out there that, yeah. Obviously, yeah, having it be all nice and fancy is cool. But sometimes that shit ain't real. So, yeah. Like I said, hey, I'm not a big birthday guy, but shit, this is a pretty good way to plug this. I don't need any presents or anything like that, but if you wanted to get yourself a present from me for my birthday, I would really appreciate that from the store at www.livingforaliving.live/shop. Had a few more orders. Shout out Julia and Vera. That would be the best birthday present for me, to help spread some awareness to the brand. And also, if you ever do buy something, please take a picture of you rocking it, send it to me, because part of the website, and then also on like Instagram and stuff, I want to start posting people wearing the stuff. It's great marketing, and it makes me feel good. And then, on the website, please use code LIVINGFAM, get you 10% off. And then also, if you like the website, you think it's cool, you're looking for a website of your own, whether you're a small business, an online store, or something in between, Matty at Orion M&C has you covered. That's who did my website. Visit www.orionmc.fi, and then you can also use the code Living for a Living to get 10% discount on your first website or digital project there. All right. So I think that's a good plug to start. Had to throw those little plugs in there, you feel me? And as I said, this weekend was fun. We didn't have a game. We had a bye week. We got playoffs coming up this weekend. We got to play the Crocodiles for the third time this season. And so we went camping about an hour and a half or so outside of Kuopio. And I had a nice little birthday surprise on Friday night. And my girl out here got me some stuff I need for the van, like little things. And it was just super cute. And kind of makes you feel a little special, which is always nice. So I'm super grateful for that. But the first trip in the van, holy smokes. We left Friday afternoon, kind of Friday evening, got a little bit of a late start once we packed everything up. And so the place we were planning to go is about an hour and a half, hour 40 away. And actually, I didn't even use that much gas. I've been saying it's kind of a gas hog, but now that I know how to drive it a little bit better, as long as I stay at about 75 to 80 kilometers an hour and don't go above that, which for my American friends is like 45 to 50 miles an hour. If I don't go above that, then my fuel efficiency is pretty good. And so anyway, we were going to go about an hour and a half, 2 hours away. But by the time we got on the road, stopped at this little flea market. All this is going to be on a vlog coming out soon, so stay tuned for that. Went to the grocery store, got food, blah, blah, blah. It was getting kind of late. And I said, I don't want to drive and get there when it's dark and have to set up and cook and do everything when it's dark. So I think, let's see if there's a spot along the way. And that's the beauty with the van, is you don't need a plan. You can kind of just stop anywhere. And so we saw a little kind of area that we stopped at, and it was so awesome. There was like this little hut at the lake that had a fire pit inside, and we walk in and we didn't plan on stopping there. And this is after we'd like driven around this one area, driven on a road, like a grass road that no one had driven on in a long time. And we walk in this little hut, and all of a sudden LED lights just turn on, like motion sensor. We're like, holy shit, this is fucking nice. And so it was kind of some luxury camping, some glamping to start, because we cooked our food in there. We didn't even have to be outside. It was nice and warm in there. It got pretty cold that night. A little bit chilly in the van, but I kind of like being cold, so I don't mind that. And then the next morning we woke up, went swimming, we're on the swing. There were swings. It was a cool little area. And then we went to the place that we were planning to go to, which was absolutely magical. It's called Rokuhaika, something like that. I don't know. Follow me on Instagram or TikTok. Instagram will be, I'm trying to be more influencer-y now with the van life, posting some more stories. So that's kind of up-to-date stuff. TikTok, I'm trying to do more. For the most part, I only do clips from the podcast on there, but I'm trying to do a little bit more like just recording some shit with like similar to stories on that also. So, if you haven't followed me there, follow me there. You can get a little more up to date or watch the vlogs on YouTube, because this place was fucking crazy, dude. We were backed in right next to the lake, fire pit, private little area, nobody near us. Had to drive on a gravel road for like 30 minutes to get out there. At one point, we were trying to go as deep as we could into this like beach area, and we came to a point in the road that like we wouldn't be able to drive over. The dip was too big, and we're in this road that like branches are hitting the car. It was sick. So the van is mobile. Let me just put it that way. And yeah, but driving's funny because I haven't driven in a long time. You know, the last 2 years for the most part. Last time I was in the States was September of 2019. So I'm coming up on 2 years outside of the States. And everywhere else I've lived, I haven't driven. And so you kind of forget about the little things of driving. And the main one, and even out here in Finland, where people, I think for the most part, are pretty patient and cautious and respectful. But even out here, you run into someone that's just in a fucking hurry to go nowhere. You know, the van doesn't go too fast from first to second gear. And so I'll sometimes just have someone on my ass as I'm coming out of a stoplight or something like that, and swerve around me, get right in front of me, and then just stay in front of me for the 10 minutes going wherever I'm going, you know, just in a hurry to be 10 feet in front of me, you know, just in a hurry to go home and watch Netflix and do nothing. It's funny. That shit used to like really bug me. I used to kind of when I was younger, I'd drive fast. I think you kind of have to when you're younger. That's part of the gig. Now I'm saving gas. I don't care about driving fast. It just like cracks me up to see people get so mad. Like when I was road tripping in Felipe few summers back, my man, and I think it's just a Portuguese thing, they are constantly racing each other on the roads in Portugal. It is a race everywhere. And this motherfucker would just constantly be mad at somebody else driving. You know, they pull out, and it was like they were purposely doing it just for him in his mind. To the point I'd be like, bro, chill out. Like, what are you, we're on a road trip with no plan. We don't even know where we're going for that night, and just in a hurry. It's like, dude, we don't even have a destination to get to. Chill. So it's funny to see it's a little bit like that out here too. I think it's a little bit like that everywhere. The cool thing though, having the bus is, I guess I'm calling it more a bus than a van. It's kind of that hybrid in between a bus and a van, because it's pretty big. Like we were tripping out on Saturday night. We'd spent all day outside, and then we came into the bus, into the back at night, and you can completely stand up. You don't have to squat at all. And it's just like its own little room back there. And I was like, I can't believe we drove this here. I can't believe we drove on that one road, that narrow ass road. This place we're living and standing is also drivable, which is so cool. But no, the cool thing now is like people will wave, just random people. We drove by kind of like farmer couple out in their field on our way to the campsite, and they turn and look and they wave. And then if I see another old car or old bus or something, there's kind of a little mutual head nod wave that goes by. This dude drove by me in a sick, kind of a old Greyhound charter looking bus that was painted green and yellow and totally decked out as a motorhome. And you could see a couple kids in the window, wife. And I was like, damn, that thing is sick. And we both gave each other a wave. So it's kind of fun to be in that Jeep crew that, the motorcyclers do that little wave thing. It's kind of fun to be a part of that. Before I get into talking about camping, did the episode with Samuli from RPS Brewery, Rock, Paper, Scissors. He is the co-founder and CEO of this local indie brewery here in Kuopio. And he's the first Finnish guest I've had. He's the first live guest I've done in over a year. And dude, that conversation was so much fucking fun. We hit it off. It went great. And so I would highly recommend that. I know, some of the guest ones haven't been doing as good lately. It's a really cool story, his own story. And then also the brewery story is really cool. And then we just get into kind of shooting the shit and sharing stories of ourselves and our own lives. And that was a really fun one. Also now coming up, we're going to do a taste test kind of beer thing. I think once my season ends in the van. He was stoked on the van. So I don't know if RPS is actually sold in the States, but if you're a Finnish person, check out RPS if you haven't already. Good people over there, good beer, and that, more importantly, check out that podcast because that was a fucking fun one. That one will come out this week sometime. I gotta just, that's pretty much edited, but I just had to plug that too. All right, little camping thoughts. It's so fun to build a fire. It's like the ultimate manly caveman evolutionary survival thing. And on Sunday morning, we had brought some firewood with us just so we wouldn't have to go and find it. But we ran out on Saturday night. And so Sunday morning, to make coffee, we needed some wood. And I think I could have gone somewhere to a campsite and grabbed a couple pieces. Finland's pretty cool with just having firewood handy at places like that. But I was like, nah, I'm going to do this the old school way. So I found a small tree that had fallen over, very small, probably, I don't know, 4 or 5 inches in diameter. I think diameter, radius, circumference, one of those. It was already fallen down, so I hauled that over. We brought an axe with us, and I chopped those into pieces, collected smaller sticks and other tinder, dead leaves and stuff like that. We also had some newspaper too, and then started that fire. And it takes a little bit of time, get that shit to catch, get the big logs to catch. But oh my God, when it finally catches and it gets going, there's not too much of a prouder moment. And fire is a crazy thing, dude, because we realized at night we were sitting there, and I mean, we're at the most picturesque campfire, lakeside, stars above us, trees above us. I mean, you couldn't have written it better in the movies of the surroundings around us. And just for whatever reason, we're just enamored with the fire, just looking at it and watching it, just poking at it, moving things around. It's truly magical. I think it's obviously ingrained in us through evolution and survive, because it's equated to survival throughout our lives. And just imagine the first caveman who had fire. That's the first way of comparison, probably. We saw somebody far away with a fire going. We were like, oh, that's a nice fire they got going. And we thought, I wonder if their fire is better than our fire. No, our fire's better. And I've also realized the way I build a fire, I wasn't in Boy Scouts, Eagle Scouts, anything like that. The only knowledge I have of outside survival is from Bear Grylls, the Discovery Channel, and watching movies and cartoons, and in movies, cartoons, they always build the fire up. So it's kind of like a teepee kind of thing. And then, you put the tinder inside and da-da-da-da-da. And so I was making that, and Vilma's like, what are you doing? Like, you're making it exactly how they do in the movies. I was like, yeah, where the fuck do you think I learned from? And it works. It definitely works. So, I recommend. Not like I can say I'm a master at it or I do it a lot. I'm going to end up doing it more and more as the van life stuff continues. Go build a fire whenever you got a chance. That shit there's something about it. It's rewarding to the maximum because I think it's one of the first initial rewards we had. From day one. And then thinking on that same kind of timeline or thought process, everything that's been around for a long, long time has to do with doing around the fire. Whether it be alcohol or smoking cigarettes or playing cards, certain games, singing, dancing, all of these things that have been around forever, basically, have been things people have done around fire. And that's why they have such a impactful way. What's a better way to put that? I need a better adjective. That's why they have such an impact. And I'm so grateful that I came along this life at this time. Because as I'm sitting there drinking a beer, smoking a cigarette by the fire, I thought to myself, man, I'm so glad that I'm not the guy who had to make the beer, be the first one to invent the beer, the first one to trial and error and test tobacco. And, it's fun. We romanticize camping and being by the fire and all these things. But it was nice because we could get in the van, and then if we really wanted to, we could drive away and go home. And that's beautiful. And so I'm really glad that I'm not the person that was doing it for literal survival and stuck there and had no choice. Because they probably didn't look at it as cool of a thing as we look at it as. But the fire, man. And then Finland just has berries everywhere in the forests, especially out where we were. And just being able to go through the forest and pick up blueberries and lingonberries and cloudberries. It's like free food. Just chilling there. Mushrooms out there, not psychedelic mushrooms. I'm sure they have the psychedelic ones too. We didn't pick any mushrooms though. And just seeing all these things and realizing you can live off the land in a lot of places. Granted, you can't do it in Finland in the winter. But being able to be self-sufficient and not having to pay money. Your time is money in a way. And so picking blueberries for 30 minutes is the same as spending €5 at the store to just buy a pack of them. You'd probably get way less. And then there's also, you got to beware out there, there's blueberries, and then there's these other ones that look like blueberries, but they grow on a different plant, and they're poisonous. But it's super easy to tell because the blueberries grow on a plant that has kind of bigger leaves, and the poisonous ones, they almost have like miniature pine tree looking leaves, little skinny ones. And so I was like, damn, that's kind of fucked up. That blueberry bush to fake blueberry bush, is fucking with people. And again, going back, I'm glad that I'm the guy who already people know it. I don't have to experience it by trial and error, by, being poisoned first. But I was like, shit, that's pretty cool. Like, it's cool and fucked up that nature is giving us this thing, but then there's also like a little bit of danger involved in it too. And we're just walking around, kind of, in our own vibe, I should say, and just like seeing a tree that for whatever reason, like the bark is falling off. And I ask her, I'm like, what's up with this? I don't know, maybe this, maybe that. It's dying, all the bark's around it. It's the only one like that around it. And I just thought to myself, man, every tree has its own story. Every plant, everything out here has its own little story of how it came to be, what's happened to it. And it's no different than us. Yeah, we're mobile and we get to move, but we all have our own little story. And then I was thinking about this fake blueberry poisonous bush, and I'm like, it's just doing what it can do to survive. I don't know any information on it or anything like that, but it's just the same as anything else. And for something can probably eat it. Maybe humans can't, but some animal has a use for it. Something benefits from it, or maybe it survives by nothing fucking with it. And I thought, shit, just like the trees, people, we're all just trying to garner some kind of emotion from our environment in order to survive in the best way that we see fit in that moment. Whether it's a butterfly that has some kind of, like the owl eyes on it to disguise it, to make it look like it's something else. Whether it's an insect that scares off predator, or just blends in, an insect or an animal that just blends into its surroundings with camouflage so it hides. Whether it's the berries that are just poisonous. Whether it's the loudest guy in the room who's actually really insecure and he tries to be loud and intimidating in order to get people to be scared of him because he's really scared of himself. No matter who it is, no matter what it is, every little living organism is trying to just survive its best way possible. And that's at the core what our desire is survival. And so that thought kind of just gave me a little bit better understanding with some of the stuff that goes on, some of the things that get said regarding all the hot topics that it just seems like people are turning against one another, and there's just very little sympathy. It's ironic. It's like you can only have sympathy if you sympathize in the way of the person that is judging you. But it's made me a little bit more understanding in a way, because to their mind, they're just, however they're acting, whether they're right or they're wrong or indifferent, it's just in their mind, that's the best way for them to survive. Although a caveat of that is we're kind of at a point in society, for most of the first world Western society, where survival is almost a given. And because of that, all of these problems and some of these things don't have survival in mind. You know, we're creating all these problems, creating all of these issues that, yeah, they might be an issue and they might be a problem, but not an end of the world that we need to stop talking to family problems, you know, not an end of the world kind of thing. But that's because society as a whole has gotten to a point where comfort is more easily attainable than it ever has been in the past. And so the thought process of survival is kind of clouded, and it's kind of this delusioned idea because deep down we have that survival thing in us, but now it's been transformed into other ways. And so we act out and we do things in other ways because it's like that's our survival instinct at use and at play, even though we're surviving just fine. And I'm guilty of all of this too. You know, here I am right now talking to this mic, talking to this camera, posting this on the internet, hoping to garner some kind of emotion from you. And sometimes I want a negative emotion, and sometimes I want a positive emotion. You know, it's something I'm learning through doing this, and especially TikTok, where people love to get upset. You should read my comments. Holy smokes. I never realized that. Yeah, I have one video on there talking about a clip from last episode where I said, you know, if I sleep with a girl on our first meeting, the odds say we don't end up in a serious relationship. And granted, I edited the clip a little bit so it's a little more controversial, but holy smokes, I'm the biggest misogynist ever on TikTok right now because of that. But my whole point is, you know, I'm trying to make people feel a certain way, whether it be these clips, whether it be the podcast, whether it be a vlog, whether it be whatever, in hopes that you feel that emotion. And then because I'm now selling something physical like this on YouTube, you can just get money from ad revenue. So I just want you to watch. I just want you to care. And I'm doing all of these things for us to garner a certain emotion so that you consume what I'm creating, all in order to help me survive, which is, in my idea, the best way I see it for myself. And, you know, buying into this idea of living for a living, you know, it's really cool. And, you know, I'm not like, I'm just trying to deconstruct this entire process using myself as the frog that to dissect. And the phrase living for a living garners a certain response, an idea in someone's head right away. And that's what's good about it. But, you know, I say all those things to not say I'm any different, because I'm doing the exact same thing. I have no problem admitting it. You know, I thank the people who buy my shit in the beginning in hopes that someone else hears that and thinks, well, I'd like to get thanked. I'd like to, you know, I want to support. You know, I know maybe on the conscious level, that's not the reason why someone would do it, but there's some weird underlying subconscious thing to it that, like, well, I want to be appreciated. Because, I mean, as I've said before, we all just want to be understood, and we want to be loved, and we want to be appreciated. And those three things, in a way, they're not synonymous, but they all relate. And so, I mean, whether it be the whole materialistic world, consumerism world, just totally preys on that in people. Girls need to look better, and they need to look younger, and they need this push-up bra, and they need this thing and that thing. And guys, You know, you need a bigger dick pill, and you need all the hair on your head, and you need this cool clothes and this cool car, and you got to have this job. All of these things play on that idea that, well, if I get that and I do that and I look like that, then I'll be loved, appreciated, and cared about. And then because of that, maybe someone will try to understand me. And really, it's all just distractions at actually figuring it out from your inside. And so, you know, call me conspiratorial all you want, although conspiracy theorists seem to just have the spoilers to what's happening in the future in the last year or two. But I don't think the powers that be don't want that shit to be out there for everybody to know and everybody experience and to realize, along with being outside, being connected to the nature, you know, walking around in nature, picking berries, getting free food, living off the land. You know, that's the last thing the powers to be want. And this whole COVID lockdown situation fiasco thing, to me, just proves it. You know, it's created this thing where we're having to stay at home, locked down. The president of Australia has literally said in their things, you know, don't talk to your neighbors. Don't get this connection. And that connection is what makes us human. You know, they're trying to feed us a certain thing and get us on a certain wavelength that basically turns us into robots. Living robots. They're going to eventually bring out some robots too to intermingle. But eat this and don't do that and think this. It's scary. You know, being stuck inside, having to rely on delivery services to bring you food, to bring you whatever, doesn't give you very much freedom. Makes you pretty reliant. When you don't have freedom and you're relying on something, you're very easy to control. You're very easy to manipulate. Well, we're not going to deliver if you don't do this. You can't go here if you don't do that. Well, I don't want to do that, but I need to go there. Okay, so then you either make the choice. You do this or you don't do that. And COVID is just speeding up or expediting this process for us. I mean, it's kind of scary, dude. There's a video here I'm going to show about what's going on in Australia right now. And Australia to me is a scary thing because if you want a isolated group to test things on, that's a good place to start. First world, English speaking, completely isolate, an island. You can really control who leaves, who doesn't. You know, there's not too many close things nearby that someone could swim away to or, you know, take a small boat or like that. And so they're coming out with these quarantine camps in Australia. And let's just play the video real quick.
This is a commitment by the Wagner family working with the Queensland government to say to the people of Queensland, we want to keep you safe. And the best way to keep you safe and to keep Delta out of Queensland is to build as quickly as possible a regional quarantine facility. I have listened to Queenslanders. I know how much they support a regional quarantine facility to be in Queensland. They want their community kept safe. That's what they're saying to me, and we are delivering it. This is a race. We are up against a highly infectious Delta variant that's sweeping the world. We don't know what's next. We need to get these facilities up and running, and everybody has seen how successful Howard Springs is.
Now, to me, that sounds weird. There's literally been like 12 cases, 20 cases probably by the time I'm not going to bring up numbers. I think we're all fucking tired of hearing bullshit numbers and trying to justify or rationalize them because it's impossible to do so in most cases. But they're building quarantine camps in a place that hasn't even been hit. And maybe it's a good thing. But anytime camps have been built in the past, normally not a great thing. You know, that's just a fucking scary one, dude. That one, and Australia, to me, it's like, you know, they cut it all off. They were living normal life first. Now they're back to super lockdown, militaries imposing it. I don't know the true conspiratorial reasons behind it. Like I said, I try not to even care too much, but at the same time, I care enough to talk about it, just or mention it. That's something scary. And then on top of that, today the Israeli government decided that a third COVID shot will be available immediately for the entire population 12 and over, and the COVID passport, the green pass, will be revoked for those without the third shot, meaning if you're vaccinated with 2 shots, you're unvaccinated. And I predicted that last episode. I said it's going to be interesting in the future, in a year or 2 or however fucking long it takes, when the 3 and 4 and 5 shotters are arguing with the people who've only been vaccinated with 2 shots, saying, you're the reason variants are spreading and it's because of you that we can't go back to normal life. And it's just... That's all I got for COVID stuff today and lockdown. I don't have anything other than that to end on. A couple things I've thought about, you know, and these are a little bit of Finnish things relating to life is, you know, overall, I feel like life in Finland, the efficiency, the government, the things like that, they have that figured out pretty well in comparison to the U.S. You know, overall, I think it's much better, whether it be welfare programs, whether it be politicians not just lining their pockets with money and taking bribes constantly. You know, money goes to parks, money goes to things that are used by the public, infrastructure, all of these things. It actually gets used in the right way. It doesn't go towards a war in Afghanistan for 20 years that we just pull out of willy-nilly and then let people take over 2 weeks after 20 years of being there. It doesn't go towards stuff like that. You know, one of the best things and most efficient Finnish examples I have is the damn drying racks above the sink. Nowhere else I've lived has had that, and that just seems now to me like such a common sense kind of thing. Instead, I would always use the drying rack that would take up counter space and get the fucking countertops all wet constantly. Here, they just put it right above the sink. That shit drops into the sink. And now it's already kind of in a cabinet away. No one has to see it. Dual function. And so, like I'm saying, there's a lot of things I think Finland has the efficient measure for. But there are a few things that don't make any sense here in Finland. And the first one is showers. Everywhere I've lived so far, the shower is in, and this, everywhere I've lived so far, and all of my friends' houses that I go over to, the shower drain is in the center of the bathroom. So if you shower, and there's no like divider to block the water from going anywhere or direct the water to go anywhere. The floor is just a little bit like concaved in order so it goes to the drain. So if you shower in this place, in this bathroom, the water goes fucking everywhere in the bathroom, on the floor. And then you got to use the little squeegee thing to get it into the drain. Whereas if you just had an enclosed shower area, you wouldn't have to do that, because then if you walk in the bathroom and you don't squeegee, your socks are getting wet. And that's the one that just baffles me, that I'm like, how do we have the drying racks above the sink and we have the drain in the middle of the bathroom? Who is behind that thought process? That's the one that I don't get. And then the second one, the thing that doesn't make sense to me here in Finland, is now that I'm driving, I don't understand the purpose of these stupid like 4-way yields where there's not a stop sign, there's not a yield sign. It's just everybody has to yield to the person to the right. And so you got to drive through these things fucking 5 miles an hour, looking to the right sometimes. But then in some roads, there is a yield sign. And so you have the right of way. But the only way you would know that, you can never see that sign from the actual road that you're driving on. So the only way that you know that yield sign is there is if you've driven on that street that has the yield sign. And so sometimes you think you're good and someone from the right just says, fuck you, I'm going. Sometimes you don't think you're good and then that person looks at you like you're stupid. I just don't. I know Finland's all about equality and efficiency and all those things, and I'm all for that. But when it comes to 4-way stops, could we have a little bit more superiority? Can one road have the right of way and then there's stop signs on the side? Or if we want to go with fucking equality, can we get a stop sign at all 4? And then you can just do what Americans do. And you just kind of roll through the stop sign if no one else is there. It's just that's the thing. Now that I'm driving, I'm like, oh my God, these stupid. And sometimes there's a building or a car or something in front of you, so you can't even see with the road that's coming to the right until you're basically in the intersection getting in an accident. So, yeah. Haven't complained too much about things here in Finland. So that was one. Now that I'm driving the car, I'm just like, fuck. Can we get some stop signs or give somebody the right of way? Because these little 4-way yield intersections are so stupid. All right. Got that out of my system. That's this week's episode. 31 years old, baby. Go check out the website. Buy something for my birthday, please. I'd appreciate it. I'd only get to say that once a year. And stay on the lookout for vlogs from this weekend. The episode with CEO, founder of the local indie brewery here. And we'll catch you next week. All right? Peace and much love. Holla.
Tell me, baby. Yeah. What's that story?
Yeah.
Cause I've been thinking about you lately.
Yeah, come on.
Tell me, darling. What else? You're a star girl.
What else?
How the fuck do you not know the deal?
What else?
I've been thinking about you lately. And
What
it's
else?
got me going crazy.
What else?
Playing for you, baby.
What else?
Listen up. Got me thinking about you, baby. And it's happening all the time. So I'm playing for you, darling. Now listen up.
Listen up.